Here we are inside of Capture One. These are the selected image, and the Brewdog Punk AF is the can that I want to adjust. First of all, with the gray card, I adjusted the color balance, then a few adjustments on the exposure and also on the HDR section. Quick flip of the level, then I jump into Photoshop. I make sure I'm on 16-bit and Adobe RGB, color space. Once Photoshop opens, I will go ahead and add a few elements and a few tweaks to bring life, or to give a more dynamic sense of the image, still maintaining the focus on the Brewdog can of beer. It's already in a great environment, but let's add a few elements. Start with a catch light, not a catch light, but a stage light that I have from the nuclei packs that I purchased. I add this to the image to give a sense of depth, to add a sense of depth to the image. I place it on screen. I will place it in a specific section because I don't want to see the light itself. I just want to see the beam of light and the atmosphere that it's bringing to the image. Once I decide on the size, this looks pretty good. Once this is great, I will move on just to make sure that I don't cover the can, because I want it to be behind the can, not in front. I'm gonna play a little bit with the opacity just to bring it down to make it less important or de-emphasize it in the image. Then I'm gonna add a mask. I'm gonna brush over the can to eliminate the overlay of the light beam. Again, I do not want to take away from the can of beer, the Brewdog Punk AF. Still, it's the important part. I'm just gonna readjust it a little bit. I erased a little, my mask went a little wide. Once this is done, I'm just gonna make sure this is okay. Yeah, this looks pretty good. It does the job. Perfect. Now we have the ray of light from the spotlight, the stage light, behind the can and not in front. Again, adding depth to the image. I think this looks pretty good. Yeah, it does. All right, cool. I add another layer. This layer, I will take a new brush. I'm gonna add another element of depth, more atmosphere. I'm gonna use the smoke effect. I'm gonna sample the color of the light beam and just lightly brush again to add even more atmosphere. Another layer to mainly to the bottom right part of the image. I will place this right below my light beam. I'm gonna add the same mask that I created to the light beam to the fog smoke layer, again pushing it back behind the can and not in front, to really keep the front element the can and nothing else. Again, I'm gonna put it on under the screen overlay. Yeah, let's bring this down just a little bit. It's a little too much. Before and after, this looks very good. This is great. All right, this is coming together pretty well. Now, let's just see if there's any imperfections I want to correct. I don't seem to see anything. The condensation on the can really looks great. Now let's make things pop a little. I have an action from the nuclei pack that I purchased, a sharpening effect. I want to sharpen the image. I'm going to do it inside Photoshop, just enough to make the can again pop, mainly the lettering. It's this action puts it on linear light. It gives a sharpening layer. It's already on the opacity of 50. It looks good. Let's just zoom in just a little bit to see what it looks like. Yeah, looking at the lettering before and after, it just makes the label pop more off of the can to make it more visible, make it more like we can just reach out and touch the can. Before and after. Let's close this up. This looks absolutely awesome. Perfect, perfect. Now all we need to do is save this and jump back into Capture One. In Capture One, I will do the final edits. I could have done this inside Photoshop, but I like to do it inside Capture One. It's very powerful, and I like the results when I finish off my images. Once I finish with Photoshop inside, I'm going to crop it. I'm going to give it a 3:4 ratio. Crop it like this to eliminate the bottom part that from the base that we could see the part that wasn't painted. Then I'm going to add some gradients. I'm going to start to add a layer, and this layer will include a gradient from the right side. What I'm going to do, I'm going to darken with this gradient to really move the eye towards the middle of the image. I'm just going to bring down a few adjustments, mainly a little bit of the shadows, because I don't want to affect the overall image, the overall side. I'm just going to bring down a little bit to push everything in towards the middle. It was a little too bright on the right. Next, I'm going to add another one. It's a bottom gradient, same thing. I want to push everything towards the middle. I'm going to do approximately the same adjustments to the bottom. I'm going to darken it out there too. A little bit of exposure, again, shadows to bring them down and to increase the blacks. Let's just push it up just a little bit more. Wow, this is starting to look good. Perfect. Okay, this is done. Now, let's add I'm going to do a filled adjustment layer, and this, let's name it a curve. I'm going to add a curve just to add some contrast to the image. The image looks good, but it just needs that little extra edge to make everything glued together and look better. A little curve, deepening the shadows and pushing up the highlights before and after. As you can see, it just makes everything much more moody, much more tangible, something that we can reach out and touch on the screen. Last but not least, I'm going to add a vignette to the image. Quick vignette. Again, I just want to bring the attention towards the middle of the image, towards the can, the Brewdog Punk AF. It's not a big vignette, but again, it's just gonna darken up the corners and just frame the center, frame the can again to make it look even more interesting, to give it a little more life and take the eye of the viewer and bring it towards the middle. Here we go, before and after. This looks absolutely perfect. This is before I went into Photoshop. Looks good, but after adding some atmosphere, the ray of light, everything, and here we are with the final result.